People, Deluded, I'm back again. Thank you very much for tuning back into another edition of the Deluded podcast. As usual, it's always appreciative and appreciated. There's not much going on in the grand scheme of things. We're just over a week away from the Premier League returning. Currently, there's a couple of internationals being played. There's the transfer speculation like always. But generally, there's not much to speak about. That doesn't mean I ain't got things to speak about with you. I don't know how long we're going to be here, folks. But strap up, get ready, man. However you're watching, just prepare yourself, man. If you're having your morning coffee and cigarette, make sure you've got that. If you're cleaning, make sure your kids ain't making no noise so you can listen to this thing. If you're, on the M-way or whatever, going to work, doing what you're doing, make sure you turn it up. But let's go, man. First things first, today I came across Gareth Southgate making more comments in relation to Harry Maguire. Now, not to go over the same thing, but as you lot know, couple of weeks ago or even last week, such as the quick turnaround in football, unfortunately he was part of unsavory scenes, to put it nicely, in relation to being on holiday and getting into a little sort of altercation with another party. It ultimately led to obviously being in trouble with the authorities. It is what it is. I've spoke about it. You lot have had your opinions. Nonetheless, Gareth Southgate says he being Maguire, he will absolutely be looking to recall Harry Maguire in October. As you lot know, like I've said, he was withdrawn due to what was going on off the field. He has received a suspended sentence on a Greek island of Soros. As you lot know, he was found guilty of aggravated assault, resisting arrest, and repeated attempts of bribery. Maguire maintains his innocence, as he did in the BBC. As Southgate said, he's backing him and he wants to keep him in the side. I mean, he did call him up. A blind man could see that there was a U-turn impending and it was a stupid thing to do. Again, Southgate, I'm not being funny, but you've been in the England job for a while. You're a manager, you're not a media man, but part of having the highest job, in management within this current land, that's the highest position you could potentially get as a football manager within this nation. How you do things, PR. Did you not listen? I can guarantee your assistants, your coaches, the PR, people must have said, don't call him up. So shouldn't it be wise just to stop speaking about Harry Maguire? Don't get it twisted. I get it from a management sort of view. You want to protect your player. You want to back your player. You want to show loyalty. He's part of your side. But be a bit sensible, man. There's question marks on you on the field. There's question marks off you. I'm not saying Gareth Southgate doesn't have integrity, but I do think in difficult moments he doesn't know where to stand. Apologies. He's shown that when racism has reared its head, and yeah, he's a wonderful man in hindsight, but when it was time to stand up for certain players, you didn't do it. Like I said, this storm which has been Harry Maguire. But nonetheless, he said he's been in touch with Harry Maguire, and he said the right way through the last 2 weeks. So however that means he's contacted him. And he went on to say, it's clearly been a really difficult period for him, and I think the last few days have been very important for him to relax, get away from the attention and get rest. We will absolutely look to get him involved in October. So for Maguire at least, this will blow over. Yeah, you'll still be reminded and there'll still be banter and there's probably more to be said. But at the end of the day, there's some other controversy that's going to come up tomorrow and you're going to be forgotten about. The best thing Maguire can do, probably what he wants to do, is just get back to playing football. And, if you play well for United, or even if you don't play well, you'll be back in October as we've been told. On the topic of England, and England have done it, I believe Brazil have done it, and there's been a couple of other nations, I believe off the top of my head, Norway, New Zealand and Australia, in conjunction with England. What I'm actually on about is apparently England's men and women's senior players have been paid the same for representing their country since earlier this year, the FA have announced. An FA statement actually said that parity in terms of match fees and match bonuses had been in place since January 2020. Again, so the basic bonuses and the basic fees. I don't know if there's any other intricate things that the FA dish out to their players, but I know a lot of people will talk about the revenue generated in women's football and as to why they shouldn't be paid the same as men, and that's a legit debate, and it's not one I'm going to have. But it is nice to see at base level match fees and bonuses are parity. That's got to be a great vote of confidence for the female players as well. So big up that, man. I'm all for advancements for the females game. And admittedly, this season I'm gonna take more of a commitment personally myself to show more of an interest. And I'm never gonna be an expert, but it's football. I wanna, know a bit more and just be into it, man. Because women's football should be ahead where it actually is right now, and especially in England, man. When I watch France and watch Brazil play and to a degree America, they got some ballers, and I'm not saying England don't, but come on, man, we're one of the most football hungry nations. We should be dominating at women's level, to be fair, man. I've seen some great women female footballers, so I want to see more of that, so I'm all for that. Moving away from that, as you lot know, the PFA has announced their shortlists for the PFA Player of the Year, and I believe the PFA Young Player. So yeah, man, apparently Liverpool have 4 Premier League players nominated because obviously they've won the league and been great. Trent Alexander-Arnold has actually been nominated for both the young player and the player of the season. He's the only player to be nominated for both this year. Promising for England, though, keeping up the theme with England, people. If you look at the young player of the year, 9 of the 12 nominations, for both of them, people, 9 of the 12 nominations for both players are English, including all the young players. This hasn't been the case for... there hasn't been more than 5 in any of the past 3 years. So again, this could be good for the England squad. Obviously, it doesn't mean we're going to be successful, but people always talk about the foreign influx killing the game and all of these things. And I'm sure some people might say they're true, but regardless of the money spent on Man United have spent and the foreign players they've had, young Mason Greenwood's popped up. Bukayo Saka has popped up, should be in the England squad. Trent Alexander-Arnold has saved Liverpool how much money over the last period he's been a professional footballer for them. And obviously you've got the Raheem Sterlings and the Mason Mounts and the Tammy Abrahams and Marcus Rashford, rightly deserved as well. So it's always nice, man. It's always nice. For me, in terms of PFA player and young player, I'm personally going player. I'm going with Kevin De Bruyne. If I had to go for a second, it's a toss-up between Mane and Trent Alexander-Arnold. For young player, I believe if Trent doesn't win, which I expect players player, he should win young player. I don't think Bukayo Saka should win it. I think he has a case to win it, and obviously I'm a big Arsenal fan. I want him to win it, but I personally believe that goes to Trent if he doesn't win, which I expect he won't. The normal sort of thing, people. So we'll have to see. But Liverpool, it's a good look that they've won the league and they've had Bear Man nominated for it, people. So it's a good look. Moving away from that, and I've done a video on it, people, but I don't know how many people have seen it or how many people are aware. You lot know Alexis Sanchez had a torrid time at Manchester United. As I have previously said to my friends and anyone that will listen, on the face of it, obviously excluding wages, Mkhitaryan and Alexis were free swap deal. I believe it was the most expensive deal both parties will ever engage in a while, because first and foremost, the time that went into completing both moves is all amounted to nothing. For United, the time in hoping Alexis would adapt and all of these things, it didn't happen. Same for Arsenal with Mkhitaryan. I'm an Arsenal fan. I'm going to be biased and say we got a bit more out of Mkhitaryan than Alexis, but United fans might turn around and say he scored twice against you lot. He's worth his fee alone. We all know it was pretty costly. United paid a lot of money for him, and in hindsight, it didn't work out. His contract, once all aspects are covered, he committed a 4.5-year deal. He's earning $560,000 per week. That's also without speaking about the $5 million that Manchester United paid out in agent fees. So it was a costly error. He might have sold shirts, but ultimately he was a flop, and he is one of the, not in terms of ability, but just in terms of what he gave the club, he's probably up there with the worst players in Manchester United history. It just didn't happen. He had a torrid time, people, and he's pointed the finger, really, and he said he wanted to leave and return to Arsenal after only one training session after moving in 2018. The man himself said, "I want to tell you about my period at Man United, about many things that were said and that made me look bad. I got the opportunity to go to United and it seemed tempting to me. It was something very nice for me because when I was a kid, I liked that club a lot. I ended up signing without much information about what was happening in the move." I'm going to stop right there, people. That's alarm bells. How can you move without knowing anything? This is the most important move in your career. Yeah, you've secured the bag, and you secured the bag throughout your whole career anyways, but that was a serious contract at United. But you're not going to consider all the factors. How am I going to fit into this team? What's the coaching landscape? Because United's coaching environment for the last few years can be described as quite volatile. Do you get it? You didn't do your homework. You just saw the fact of, I want to leave Arsenal so much. Anyone's got to be better. And I'm sure United dangled that carrot of, we want to return back to the grand scheme. And you thought you was going to assist them. And I thought Alexis can. But this shows the grass isn't always greener. For Arsenal, the lesson we could have learnt from this is just to have got rid of him, made the commitment to selling him in the summer, Clearly it was all about cash because he tried to go to PSG. They backed out because of money. That's from a reliable source we've seen previously. Arsenal apparently had a contract tied up. He went away on holiday and he came back and changed his mind and said he won't sign. So there are things we could have done better. He said the first days that I was with my colleagues, sometimes there are things that you do not realize until you arrive. The first training, I had realised many things. I went home and I told my representative, can't the contract be terminated early to return to Arsenal? They started laughing and I told them that something did not sit right with me. It had already been signed. And then he also went on to say, in a game with West Ham, remember when he scored a hat-trick or so there in an Arsenal shirt, people? I wasn't picked. That never happened to me as a player. It bothered me and I said it couldn't be possible. To go from being one of the best in the Premier League to not playing in 5 months, I came to my house and I was very sad. The next day, I trained in a double shift because I love what I do. That's the one thing he should have done, really, really and truly. He then went on to talk about management. He said, then the next coach arrived, the current one, and I decided to talk to him. I told him that I needed to take a breather and the opportunity to go to Inter. He told me yes, there was no problem. And he has had slightly better form and better fortunes in Italy, but it's been a terrible thing. I'm not one of these fans just in football in general that cares about legendary status and stuff. Of course, I would have loved Alexis to commit, go down in folklore and all of these things. Imagine Aubameyang, Alexis and somebody else. It would have been crazy. But he owes us nothing. At the time, we weren't looking like winners. I looked sideways at that United move. It's clearly for the cash. But I understood why Alexis wanted to go, people. It's that simple. I really understand it. But it's just about selling players when you need to sell them, really and truly. So yeah, man, I'm sure he's got a lot to think about. It just didn't happen for him. He did also not blame pundits and journalists per se, people, but he did kind of have his way on them. And he said, journalists spoke without knowing, and it bothered me. It hurt. Former players spoke who had no idea of anything that was happening inside the club and gave their opinion damaging you, that it was your fault. I only have words of thanks to United for giving me the opportunity to defend the shirt. It bothered me that things did not go the way I wanted. If the atmosphere had been more positive, it would have turned out differently. I tell it all now because I've already passed a period of learning as a player and as a person. I would have liked to have won everything. So he was in reflective mood. For us, I'm happy it didn't work out. I'm not going to cap. But moving away from Alexis, I don't want to spend too much time on that traitor. You can see the Arsenal badge coming out now, people. I apologise. Premier League clubs. Now, I personally, people, I didn't mind the 5 Premier League subs rule, I'm not going to lie. I have a mate, big up Dale, he's not on it, people. He said, are we trying to make this NFL? He's not on the water breaks. He's not on the 5 subs. Me, personally, I don't mind the 5 subs, people. I was against these things at first, but I liked it because the way they did it, it's not like I can go 1-0 up and just bring off one man and dead the game. You've got to be strategic. I do think with the way the modern game's going, you should letting another sub, it can be a gift and a curse depending on how it goes for you in the game. But I don't have a problem with it. But, the water breaks have gone, which I just liked to see. That's the thing I'm going to miss about lockdown. The water breaks, not because I felt they were logical, because sometimes the sun is not out and it didn't look humid. So if it is, fair enough, but you can still play. And you're taking a water break after 15 minutes. But at the same time, I'll miss it, man, because you got an in-look into what the managers were kind of doing. Obviously, with no fans, you can kind of hear as well, people. So it's pretty interesting what's said. So I'm going to miss it. But Premier League clubs have voted against 5 substitutions for the upcoming 2020 and 21 season at a shareholders meeting. Apparently, it was initially agreed in August. The 5 subs rule introduced after the Premier League resumed last season would be scrapped, and they would result to a maximum of 3 changes during the game. However, a proposal was put forward to again increase the number of substitutions to 5, with a total of 9 on the bench, but the motion did not get the required 14 votes. So people, long story short, it's going to stay at 7 on the bench, and you can only make 3 subs on a match day. So managers are going to have to get on with it. Regardless of what I have to say, it doesn't matter. Now, I'm a man of all football levels. I like the scouting, I like the coaching, I like to see the structure of what clubs are doing. And it seems like Tottenham Hotspur have had a bit of a shake around in terms of their off-field operations, or better yet, their personnel. Tottenham have appointed Trevor Birch as technical. As I said technical. Apologies, people. Let me start again. Tottenham have appointed Trevor Birch as Director of Football Operations and given him a place on a new 4-person football board. Birch joins from Swansea City, where he had been chairman since April 2019. He had also been chief executive of Chelsea, Sheffield United, Derby County, Everton, and Leeds United. So he's, I assume whatever role he's going to be doing in the Director of Football Operations, he's got a healthy CV. He's been at Chelsea, that's the standout one. He's been at a big club like Leeds, Sheffield and Derby and Everton. He's Premier League club in Everton and Sheffield, depending on the period he was there. In together with Swansea. So he's been around the block. He's probably got a bunch of contacts. He probably knows his shift. So again, if they've deemed he's the best for what they want to do, it is what it is. Apparently, when he goes into his new job, he will replace Rebecca Kappelhorn, who now becomes Director of Football Administration and Governance. This is a newly created role she will lead and drive and embed football governance processes, contractual matters, and best practices across the club. So I assume making sure we're complying with laws, and I say I'm speaking in an Arsenal sense. You get what I'm saying, in it, kind of just making sure everything's going on smoothly at Spurs. She's been with Spurs since 2015 and will now have more time to extend her work with the European Club Association, the FA, and various footballing government bodies and working groups where she represents the club. So yeah, she's clearly a very active lady across many sort of jobs and stretched out amongst many different subcategories. So clearly she's very smart at what she does. Apparently the third member of this football board will be Steve Hitchin. Now he is a very well-established person. He has been promoted from chief scout to technical performance director. Again, this is another new role, and will focus on building capabilities to support a world-class football infrastructure across senior and youth teams. Big words for you, only man. You're only working at Spurs, lad. Come on now, world-class football. Come on now, infrastructure at Spurs. Mad. On a serious note, though, obviously that's what Spurs have to aspire to. It might result in some trophies. I had to do it, man. It's too easy, man. I'm in a bit of a, the ones there, people. It's Friday. After this, I'm going to have some rain. If I'm in a good mood, so I think, let me have a little couple Spurs digs. But apologies, Spurs, man. On a serious note, Hitchin is very certain at his job, and he actually joined Spurs in 2017, February of that year, from Liverpool. And he will have the responsibility for scouting, performance and recruitment analysis, and youth recruitment. Obviously, Daniel Levy's the club's chairman and managing director of obviously the ENIC group, which obviously owns 85.55% of the club, and he'll be the fourth and obviously the man with the most important power on that board. Apparently Jose Mourinho will not be joining this board, so this could be a change in shift at Spurs and kind of signal indirectly, regardless of what Jose's contract says, that he's not here for the long term. Again, it might not be that. It might just be we don't want to do what we've done previously under Poch, because his predecessor, Pochettino, was on a 3-person football board along with Capelhorn and Levy during his time at the club. So it could just be a change in things. It could be, let's just leave the manager to manage. But who knows? For me, if someone's sitting at the board, that tells me Pochettino's a bit like Arteta in that he's getting more of a say to a degree because of what he's on. But who knows? Apparently, the latest appointments are an acknowledgement that Spurs require more footballing expertise at executive level. During her time as football head of operations, the highly experienced Capelhorn had been more focused on admin and processes, as her new role acknowledges. So yeah, man, apparently the club has not had a true sporting director, one overseeing recruitment, coaching, academy performance, medical and analysis since Italian Franco Baldini left in 2015. So we'll have to see, man. Apparently, Birch has been more focused on the business rather than the football side of things of the club, and he has served and this new position appears to be a departure. So maybe he's just completely getting a new role. People, there's also been change at coaching level as well. Head of academy coaching and player development John McDermott in March was seen as leaving the club. As you know, he's had about 15 years service at Spurs. It's never nice to see someone that's part of the furniture as a club, and I know how scouts and coaches are, you think it's going to be forever, lose his role. Dean Rastic has also lost his role. Dean Rastic, he has assumed the role that McDermott will leave. Ryan Mason is obviously the under-19s head coach and will now assume the role of head of player development for the under-17s to 23s. Chris Powell, it's amazing how he's got a job and he's not speaking on diversity and breaking down challenges now. Watch it, people. Every time he loses a role, he becomes, the Kaepernick and stuff. Trust me, it's so true. He's apparently joined their youth academy setup as well. Apparently head of player development Nigel Gibbs has left to take up a coaching role in Belgium. And there's obviously further changes because apparently more coaches will form part of a leadership team, because you'll see Matt Taylor doing the under 18s, Wayne Burnett doing the under 23s, Paul Braxwell doing the senior academy coaching role, and former QPR coach Perry Suckling, academy coach, man. Good, big up him, man. I remember when I went to an event about breaking down barriers in coaching. He had a lot of time for me, man. He was a very nice guy, man. Hope he's doing well. Moving away from that, and Liverpool, Liverpool are very smart, getting set piece coaches and all different specialists in sort of medical roles. Apparently, however, they're seeing a departure now. Philip Jakobsen, who has been Liverpool's medical rehabilitation and performance manager for 2 years, or a little more than 2 years, is now leaving. The German joined in June 2018 from a hospital in Qatar, where he had headed up specialist team dealing with the treatment of elite foreign athletes. During his time in Qatar, he had also worked as a physio for Panathinaikos and for Portsmouth, as well as the Qatari national team. Apparently, he is on gardening leave technically and sent out an email. So we'll have to see. Apparently, Liverpool will begin the 2020-21 season with a very different medical team than they had since last season. Apparently, long-lasting head of medical Andy Massey has left to get a role at FIFA. As you lot know, they've obviously taken Chris Morgan from Arsenal. Well, he's returned to Liverpool from Arsenal, better yet. Away from that, though, and Liverpool have been using a French startup in relation to turning video into data. Apparently, Paris startup Skill Corner had just finished working for betting clients at the 2018 World Cup when a call came from Liverpool's head of research, Ian Graham. Apparently, he had seen some of our data, this is in quotes, he had seen some of our data visualizations and said, if you're doing this from broadcast for the World Cup, then this could be interesting for us in player recruitment. This is what Hugo, I can't say this name, Bordigoni has said, who is a co-founder of the app. Apparently, the app is basically, in short, is tracking data and is a goldmine of positional coordinates that clever data scientists can turn into valuable insights. So I assume even more data analysis around distance covered and specific things you're looking at from players according to their positions. It went on to say, whereas traditional event data tells you what happened on the ball during the game, such as the number of passes, tackles and shots, tracking data reveals the position and movements of every single player in every single moment of the match. So again, more detailed analysis for the scouts and everybody to contextualize and dig deep into and paint a picture according to what they want to do. They could also use that for existing players. Can they find signs to say a player is on their way out or a player is underperforming or needs work in a certain sort of area? It's quite crazy, people, Apparently, it totals more than 1 million data points per 90 minutes, enabling a data scientist to calculate things such as the pressure a player was under when they made a particular pass, whether they broke the lines, and if they made the best possible decision in a given situation. As you know, this is all crucial information for a club which is trying to build a comprehensive picture of capabilities of a potential transfer target. So that's quite good to hear Liverpool on that sort of thing. Away from that, Birmingham City, produced Jude Bellingham. Their academy is amazing. Apparently, they've applied to move up to Category 1 academy status for their 2021-22 season. The championship team at the moment are Cat 2 since the inception of the EPPP system in 2012. but have had the best strategy of operating as close to the Category 1 as possible for the last 3 years. They have also been buoyed by the success of their academy players at senior level, with 10 making first team debuts last season, and obviously Jude Bellingham went off to become a main player in the Championship before leaving for 25 million quid to Borussia Dortmund. Apparently the club will now enter a period of review and inspection by the Professional Game Academy Audit Company before finding out whether their application has been successful in May 2021. So best of luck to Birmingham. Away from that though, and I came across some comments in relation to Timo Werner, who actually scored for Germany last night in their draw against Spain. From Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. Now, obviously, he formerly was a striker at Chelsea. He's had something to say, and I don't agree with it because I agree with what he said, but it's best I just read it, people, because you'll probably, at some point when you hear me, you'll probably go, hang on, what's he talking about? That's not true. Apparently, Timo Werner may well need an extended period to settle at Chelsea, says Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, with the former Blues forward expecting the German to be afforded 6 months to get to grip with his new surroundings. Yeah, the fans will not give him that long. Agendas hold no context. Apparently, he told media, German football is totally different to the English game, so it'll be difficult for Werner to settle straight in. We know he's a talented player, we know what he can do, and Chelsea need a player that can score goals, but we also need to give him the time. If you look at Aubameyang, when he came, he needed 6 months, so give him those 6 months as well. Now, I agree with everything Hasselbank has had to say apart from the name he's used. What 6 months did Aubameyang need? You know, I'm sure if you ask Aubameyang, there was probably things he felt was a culture shock and needed to adapt to, but that man's been scoring literally since day one, you know. You could have used the departed Sane, who had a tough 6 months. You know, you could have used Robert Perez, potentially even Henry. You know, Didier Drogba at Chelsea, because he had a tough 6 months at Chelsea, his first 6 months. I remember his interview, he said it, you know. But you're using Aubameyang. Now, I'm not saying Aubameyang is the best player or whatever. I'm just saying this factually isn't true, you know. I get it. You're trying to find a striker from the Bundesliga to liken it. And there are parallels, you know. Werner can occupy some different positions, but that's literally the worst example, you know. That's almost putting more pressure on him. What's he talking about? Aubameyang hit the ground from day one. What's Hasselbank talking about? Hasselbank, I know you play for Chelsea, but I got a lot of time for you as a footballer, but you're gassing with that one, man. You're gassing. He also spoke on Hakim Ziyech and said Hakim Ziyech is very creative, has an excellent left foot, is very good at set pieces, and I expect a lot of assists from him. So do I. Simple as. He put that perfectly. He's got that aura around him that he wants the ball. He wants that responsibility. He's not afraid to score goals. Physically, he'll possibly have a problem in the beginning, so he has to be smarter with his physical ability. But he is a silky, beautiful player, and something that Chelsea don't have. A player with a left foot who can bring something different. And, you know, they've got Hakim Ziyech. They're closing in on Havertz, who's apparently left the Germany national team camp, and boarded a cab or whatever, and is doing what he needs to do to get closer to being officially a Chelsea player. So we'll have to see, people. Now, I'm sure you're all bored of this Messi thing. It looks like Messi's bottling it, people, and he's staying at Barcelona. Apparently, Lionel Messi's father and agent, George, continues in talks with Barcelona and did on Thursday, people. He arrived on Wednesday in Barcelona and reportedly held explanatory talks with the club president, Bartomeu, and the rest of the board. As you lot know, Messi obviously said last week he wanted to leave. I'm sure you all seen his dad has been absolutely harassed everywhere he goes, people. Even Luis Suarez, who went to his teammate's house, has as well, who Suarez apparently is going to Juventus. Apparently Messi no longer considers himself a Barcelona player and did not attend training for the third consecutive day. The club had been fining Messi 100,000 euros daily for his absence and missing a COVID test. But Bartomeu has reportedly softened his stance and said the 33-year-old will not be fined and is being given a few days off to consider his decision. And it seems like there's a lot of back and forth between Messi, his dad, and La Liga, because apparently I'm sure you've all seen La Liga bring out another statement in relation to the release clause and if Messi does want to leave, because on the one hand, people, of course, you're all thinking, hang on, what's La Liga got to do with it? It's a club matter. But you got to think about this logically, people. Again, there are other stars in La Liga. But like, you lose Messi, Barcelona lose a lot of fans. I'm not saying man support Messi, Barcelona just for Messi, but you lose a lot of eyes. La Liga, you've lost the best player of all time and the best player in the league. You haven't got Ronaldo. People are still going to watch La Liga, but, the numbers will drop. So it's in their best interest that Lionel Messi stays, When it was Messi and Ronaldo, everyone was watching La Liga. You had the race. They lost Ronaldo, which was also bad for La Liga. You lose Messi. Who are you looking at? Now, players come and go. Messi is 33. He's not going to be here forever. Ronaldo's of a similar age and is irrelevant from this. But you get the point, people. Apparently, Messi's father and his agent, again, George, call him George. I'll try to do the South American team, ding bang. He insists that Barcelona's 700 million euros release clause is not applicable. I can never say that word at all. And his son should be able to leave the club for free. However, again, La Liga released a statement shortly after this statement, reiterating its stance that the clause needs to be paid in full if Messi is to be allowed to leave the club. So it is quite of a techie one. It is quite tricky. And that one there, I don't know what's going to happen. Personally, there is a lot of people saying Messi said, you know what, I'm going to stay. And Messi and his partners have said, you know what, we're going to stay and just see out his contract until 2021. But I personally thought, I don't want to say I foresaw this because I don't know what's happening and I don't know what's happened, but I did think he'd do a U-turn. I did think he wants to see serious backing in the market, whether that's going for his countryman, Javi Martinez, potentially bringing Neymar back to this club. They've been linked with Pogba in the last 2 days, doing something like that. Again, their financial situation is quite bleak, and they'll need to sell before they can change it. Like I said, they're getting people off the wage books. It looks like Suarez is going to Juventus. It looks like Vidal is going to Inter Milan. Apparently they want to sell a couple of people on the fringes of things. And there's a couple other movements happening. Rakitic has gone back to Seville. So yeah, things are opening, So Koeman needs to do things. In fact, there's even talk of bringing in Gigi Wijnaldum from Liverpool, 29-year-old. He's a good player. But in terms of longevity, I don't get the point having gotten rid of Arthur and bringing in Pjanic and Wijnaldum, who are basically the same age. They've also been linked with Depay, who's going to be a decent signing, but isn't going to take them forward too tough. So we'll have to see Barcelona. We'll have to see, Big up Ansu Fati as well for becoming the youngest Spanish player when he made his debut yesterday as well for Spain. Big up him. I'm sure you've all seen in relation to the transfer news, Manchester United have confirmed the signing of Van der Beek for around 30 million or so euros, rising to 40. I think that's a very good signing. Again, football isn't FIFA, but I think he's one of them footballers people don't give credit for how good he is. I know they've seen the Champions League run, but for me, he's good. He's box to box. He can score goals. He can assist. He's very good technically. He likes to work hard for the team. Again, I don't know if there's ever a possibility of Pogba, Bruno and him playing together, which I think there is, but you could take one out. I think it's a good addition. United need good squad players, Matic, they probably need a defensive mid because Matic has had decent form and turned it around, but his age suggests he's not got long left. I know he signed a new deal. You've got Fred who's hot and cold. I know you've got Scott McTominay, but if you're honest, he shouldn't be in a proper picture like that. He can be used in the squad. So they need good squad players. They've got Van der Beek. It looks like Paul Pogba is going to sign a new deal. Bruno has just joined the club. Do you get it, people? If they can bring in a DM, and they will have to get rid of some. I think they'll keep Scott McTominay. He's homegrown and cool with the squad, but Scott McTominay, Fred, Matic, Pereira, Lingard, all players that can play in central areas, a couple of them will have to go. Spare a thought for James Garner. I hope there's still a pathway when he returns from his projected loan spell, because I haven't seen him officially gone out on loan yet, but there is talk of going out on loan. In fact, let's actually look at that, people. Let me type in James Garner's name and see if I'm chatting or being serious, people. Yeah, 19. He's 19. He's still at Manchester United. He actually hasn't gone on loan, but there's talk of going out on loan. He's only made 2 appearances since 2018, so he potentially needs to go and get football minutes of currency. Moving on to Liverpool, and you hear the Liverpool need to sell before they can buy, really and truly. Whether that's true, I don't know. But apparently Liverpool, if we didn't know already, are aiming to offload a number of fringe players over the summer as Jurgen Klopp looks to trim his squad ahead of the upcoming season. That includes Nat Phillips and Shea Ojo, who are attracting interest from Nottingham Forest as they look to strengthen their squad, having narrowly obviously missed out on the playoffs. Apparently Phillips and Ojo are expected to be two of a number of players expected to leave Anfield either on a permanent or loan basis during the coming weeks. Apparently Ben Woodburn, The Wales international is interested in Ipswich and Portsmouth. Quite the fall from grace for him, man. You would have thought he looked sick as a youth, man. He looked like he was going to be with the Curtis Jones and the Harvey Elliots and to a degree Brewster and them things there. But yeah, man, apparently he could be leaving. Harry Wilson's apparently up for sale. Apparently Taiwo Awonyi, who's a striker, Nigerian, is wanted by both Stuttgart and Mainz, so he's got interest in Germany. Kamil Grogbara, his name looks familiar. Is that a centre half or a goalie? It looks familiar. Yeah, he's a goalie. I knew I'd seen that name. Apparently, he's linked with a move away. So we'll have to see. Liverpool have to sell for they can buy. I think they got rid of Lovren, but we'll have to see what else they do. Away from that, though, and Napoli president Aurelio De Laurentiis has claimed Manchester City are making discussions regarding a deal for Koulibaly difficult due to a Jorginho grudge they have held since 2018. He told the media, Koulibaly and Milik are both on their way out, transfer market permitting. So if the market allows us to sell those two excellent players, we'll know how to replace them. If not, we'll discuss again next year. Away from that, apparently Seville remain hopeful of being able to keep Real Madrid fullback Sergio Reguilon on loan for another season. He's had an impressive season, so much so he's been linked with Man United. On the topic of Man United, they've had another sizable bid rejected by Monaco for Benoit Banachile, the 19-year-old centre-half. He might even be younger than 19. I'm sure he's 18. He must have just turned. But he's a decent thing. I've got shares on him on Football Index. Hopefully he hits the ground running. So they've been rejected for that one. But, it seems to be they're able to get one off because Chris Smalling, who's had a good year at Roma, looks set to follow Mkhitaryan there on a permanent basis. They're still attempting, apparently, the Daily Star says, still attempting to finalise Jadon Sancho's move in terms of his agent fees and salaries before making a bid, which I'm not too sure because didn't we hear that personal terms weren't a problem and they're done? It's now time to account for a fee. I think the move will be done. I just think they're moving discreetly and it's ultimately a case of if United put down the money, it is what it is. I think they'll come to an agreement. I just think they're probably just both arguing over the structure of the deal. I think if United can agree to a structure where if Sancho hits all the variables, 120 will be the final fee Dortmund could stand to receive. I think that's fair money. Overpriced in general football, of course. Football's transfers has gone inflated, but Sancho's going to pay for himself. He's going to get better. He's going to be a baller anyways in the short to medium term. He's only going to get better. He's only going to get more marketable as well. He's a London boy. He's that very much that estate kid. He's done the sort of Germany thing. Obviously, he's very flashy and drippy in a nice way. I like that. People gravitate towards him, He's very relatable. He's always talking about Kenneton and stuff, He's an English boy. People can resonate with him, He's going to get more marketable. He's going to sell shirts. So 120 for me is worth it. He's only going to get more expensive. It is what it is. I think they'll have to do it. And I'm keen to see the 20-year-old back in the Prem. And I'm sure he is as well. Because playing in Dortmund's been a fantastic opportunity, He's played in big games. They've given him a platform to play for his country and that. And he's obviously played in Europe, but, way before he could comprehend these sort of things, he was a young kid in a council estate playing football, thinking, I want to play for whatever team he grew up supporting, allegedly Chelsea off the top of my head. I'm sure he dreamt about playing for England at Wembley and equally playing for Chelsea or whoever in the Premier League. And, it's like Hector Bellerin, I know it's a complete different thing, but he came to Arsenal. He's been here since 16, 17. He's now 25. Yeah, he might be Arsenal for life and all that stuff, despite the links to PSG that are still persisting. But he's a Spanish lad. Do you not want to play in La Liga? It's simple things. So we'll have to see what happens in that regards, people. Apparently, Josh King says it would be amazing if Manchester United renewed their interest in him. Obviously, the 28-year-old must feel gutted because not only has he been relegated, but he saw a move to Manchester United, his former club, turned down in January. So he'll probably leave Bournemouth. I can't imagine he'll stay in the Championship. Well, it is what it is. Apparently, Bayern Munich's Spanish midfielder Javi Martinez is determined to seal a move back to Athletic Bilbao and is prepared to take a wage cut. Apparently, Hull are looking to sign Southampton centre-back Alfie Jones on a permanent deal. Roma are preparing a move for Hertha Berlin and Poland striker Piatek in order to replace Edin Dzeko. Personally, I always thought that striker was overrated, not Edin Dzeko. He's a baller. So, apparently Inter Milan will need to raise money by offloading Ivan Perisic if they are to bid for the 29-year-old Chelsea and France midfielder N'Golo Kante. Conte probably wants a reunion, a renaissance with his former midfielder. Chelsea are obviously looking for a goalie, depending on what they can do with Kepa. Rennes have told them if they wish to sign their Senegalese goalkeeper Edouard Mendy, who is 28, they have to pay up to £30 million. So are they going to spend £30 million and then have the £80 million man on the bench? Probably, but it's a techie one. But yeah, the transfer news is a gazy one, man. We didn't have a chance to speak about it, but obviously I saw Crystal Palace confirm the signing of Ibiraeze. Baller. I want him to be such a success in the league, man. Really think QPR did well with him. Really think Crystal Palace is the right team for him, and he'll hit the ground running. I actually didn't speak about anything to do with Arsenal. It's lovely to confirm the signing of Gabriel. I mean, you've got Gabriel and Saliba. One's number 6, one's number 4. Both signed for around £30 million. One's 19, one's 22. You'd imagine £30 million. Can we turn them both into £50 million plus players? Can we have this a centre-half pairing that's envied by the world for the best part of a decade? Obviously, a decade's wishful thinking, but at least 5 years. You know, they both signed for £30 million. Can we get more money when the time comes? Because I know Saliba is cute seeing his Arsenal shirt and stuff from a young age, but if Real Madrid and Barca come, if you're going to become the player that we believe you can be, the next Varane and that, then it is what it is. I'm happy with Gabriel because he complements our side. For me, I've been on our case about centre-halves. I said we needed a centre-half in addition to whatever happened with Saliba. So for me, to now have Gabriel, Saliba, and obviously Paulo Marie, who hasn't had much of a look in, I'm cool with that. Personally, I don't expect too much from Marie. What I'm hoping from Paulo Marie is, he's 27. He was 26, but he just turned 27. Give me a couple of years. You're just consistent. I'm looking at Marie to be the rotation option. When if somebody's injured, touch wood, that's not the case, or rotation or injury for whatever reason, when you step in, there's not a significant drop off on quality because I ain't seen much in Marie. But what I've seen, I think he's going to struggle with pace. I think he's okay on the ball, and I think he's not one of these midfield centre half, that is going to force it. But I'm just hoping he can step up and be required. Saliba and Gabriel is going to take time. Personally, I think there's every case to play both them young centre-halves and let them fail fast and learn fast and develop fast. But I understand if David Luiz kind of holds one of their hands, if not both, and for a best part of the start of the year and then gradually in an ideal world phased out. I don't mind that. Obviously, I'm hoping we can announce Aubameyang's new deal. I'm hoping we bring in a midfielder, Partey and Auba. Either one I'd be cool with. With Partey, we get that box-to-box composing figure. With Auba, we get someone that can break the lines. So there's that, man. But we need to offload players. I know Socrates has been linked with Napoli. Kolasinac apparently wants to go back to Schalke. Torreira could be going Fiorentina. We need to raise funds. We need to, man. We need to get El Nene off the wage books as well. So it all depends, man. It all depends. I just want the Premier League back, man. The Premier League's back next week. The window is shut in just under a month, technically, in October. So we need to get a move on. For me, it's outgoings. There are some players we're not going to be able to get off the books. Mustafi is injured. Ozil's wages. I don't think El Nene genuinely fields any inquiries because we've been trying to get him off for a while. So we will struggle, but Arsenal do need to raise funds. There's nothing more for me to talk about, man. I hope you've all enjoyed this 40-odd minutes we've been here for. I know I've been kind of inconsistent with the pod because I like to do this a bit differently. I like to wait till there's a bit of topics to speak about, and I don't like to talk about the typical stuff. Like I will, but I like to speak about the structure of clubs and what's going down, people. I always think to myself, should I just sometimes drop 5 and 10 minute little things because who says you can't? But it is what it is in that regards, man. On that note, though, I'm going to get out of here, man, and keep it moving. Like I said, it's been a fantastic podcast, but I don't want to waste any more of your time. Please take care. Obviously, don't forget to subscribe on Spotify or whatever you're listening to me on. Subscribe on that application. Don't forget to check out my YouTube content, Deluded Gooner, if you don't know. Follow me on all my socials, Deluded Gooner 04, Snapchat DGooner04. Yeah, man, make sure you're supporting all the content across all the channels, man. Show my podcast the same love you show the YouTube and that, man. And I've also got a blog, man. Check out the blog, man. It's quite a decent one. I'm trying to do it all for you lot, man. Trying to give you lot all different angles and all different content and different channels and different strokes for different folks and all them sort of things there. But for now, people, It's a Friday. This marks the end of my content that I've done. I'm probably going to be on a couple live streams over the weekend, but not serious ones. So I'm happy, man. I can go and grab some rare Nef, get some 2-2 ice and sip a juice and enjoy what's left of my Friday, people. It's 5:30, but it is what it is. Take care, man. God bless. Deluded. I'm out, man.